what happened, about the dreams that he had with Pharaoh, and also about what you call it. We talked about the how the bread baskets that were upon the slaves that Joseph had interpreted their dream.
Okay. The
Yeah, that's all I got.
And the prisoner. Okay, so what was one of the characteristics we talked about Joseph, or behaviors that we thought it was negative, but then we figure out that it was probably innocent?
Snitch. He was a tattletale.
That he was boastful, that he was a snitch, but then we figure out that he was probably doing it out of immaturity.
Right.
Out of, he didn't know what.
He was naive.
He was 16. He was 16 or 17, but
17.
it was still ignorance. Innocence.
I have a question. Do you think Joseph was spoiled?
Yeah,
Yep.
I think so.
But I know there was one that was spoiled, more spoiled than him.
Spoiled.
Benjamin.
Benjamin.
Ben Yemen.
Oh,
Benjamin,
yeah.
his youngest
The
brother.
younger brother.
Because he was 17. 17. So Benjamin wasn't
Was-
5.
No, he was like 10, no?
Right. How come Benjamin wasn't running around, running errands for Jacob?
Because, right, he learned
He
from
was-
Joseph's mistake.
It was yeah.
Nothing had happened to Joseph yet.
But Benjamin was the son of...
Who are you thinking of? The mother?
Yeah,
Same
yeah.
mother.
Same mother, right?
Yeah.
Rachel.
same mother
Rachel,
Joseph.
right?
Yeah.
So.
And Jacob loved Rachel.
Oh!
So what was one of the things that we discussed, and probably because I know you were busy, so you didn't one of the things that we discussed is that one of Joseph's traumas was that he lost his mother when he was very, very young, because it was when she gave birth to youngest brother.
To Benjamin.
Which is why good question, which is why we can say he was probably spoiled.
Probably.
He was probably no, he wasn't overprotected, because he was sent away to watch for his brother, so go figure. Continue.
That's funny. The youngest takes care of the oldest one.
I think it was just a spy.
Oh, yeah.
It's
you could
Hence
say
the
that.
term snitch.
Right, so recap, right? Is that all we can mention right now about last week's conversation?
Yee.
All right. How about today's topic?
Walking like Joseph.
How we be like Joseph.
Like, how do we relate to?
Okay.
How we do that.
Well, one thing I was thinking about is that, I think we all have siblings here. And, I don't know if...
I think so.
I don't know if occasionally in our families, somebody's like usually more outgoing, you could say, than the rest. And, they're like, oh, and then they get all of this, they get special treatment and all of that. And the other siblings are like, why him or her? So yeah, I was thinking of that, and I was wondering how do we relate to that? Like, I think of it as like, well, since we're children of God, adopted children of God, then how does that apply to our life? What do you think, Esma? Special guest.
She's a series regular. She just hasn't been here.
A seasonal.
A seasonal one.
Yeah.
I apply every season to be in this show.
Yeah.
I'll gender check.
Man, she gets approved every time because there's no one else. Yet.
Well, I think that as sons and daughters of God, we do get special treatments that other people don't get. And I'll say, I don't know, I'm going to say this, but by my house, I struggle with parking. It's such a struggle because the house next to us is, they're constructing the house and there's like a lot of trucks and you can park like literally in a bunch. There's a lot of space that's being taken up by those trucks and by construction equipment, and oftentimes people go around and around trying to find parking. And I remember the first time I had to look for parking, right? And I remember that I went around for an hour and a half and couldn't find any parking, because I live by a space where on the weekends, Saturdays, Fridays, and Sundays, it's party days in the neighborhood where people have parties, or there's like banquet halls that have parties, and then there's a bar. So it's always full, and then you need permit for certain areas so you can park. So I come out of church a little late sometimes, and especially when we have like church events on Saturdays where we come late. When we come out of here late. There was this one time, it was recently, like 2 weeks ago, we had a church event here on Saturday, and we were like, I was trying to look for parking because I had a separate car, so my dad had parking, but I didn't, and he's like, well, you have to go around, and we went around with my dad over and over again, and then I was like, and I stopped the car, and I was like, I'm sleepy, I want to go to sleep, and I just want to go home, and it's cold, and I stopped the car. And I'm like, Lord, I am your daughter. Please help me find a parking. And so I turned once again. I gave a whole turn. And then when I came back, there was a parking right outside my house.
Oh, wow.
So we get privileged like that other people don't, because we trust in a God that's there for us. And I think that's awesome. And I think that in some way we are spoiled in comparison to, to the people that don't know of God. I think that we are spoiled because we know that if we get in trouble, we can always run to God. We know that if we're going through a bad situation, we can always run to God. And we have certain privilege. And then, okay. And then not only that, like let's say the Bible says that if you worship your God will honor you. Yeah. So we have that as well. God honors us, and if we continue to follow his path, he honors you. He exalts you. You don't need to exalt yourself like the people out there. He does it for you. He puts you in the best positions as managers, and he puts you in the best jobs. So I don't know, I'm gonna say this. I didn't expect to find a job that paid me very well for part-time. I honestly didn't even cross my mind that I was going to work at a very nice job that understood everything, my college schedule. It fits perfectly with my church activities. It doesn't, I don't have to decide between church or school or working. I have all of those three. Exactly what I was asking God for, that's exactly what he gave me. So that's a privilege.
Amen.
What about you, Gabe? You asked the question.
I was going to move on to another thing.
And, one of the things that I've noticed also is that that's a great example. I've gone through it many times that I see, and some people get to ask. So yes, we go through our stuff. We go through our struggles. We go through moments where, if anybody finds out, they will say, like, for that, I'm going to accept Jesus, right? Mm-hmm. But also, if we are wise and we don't go telling about our situations and we wait, we go into seasons where things like that happen so often that people do want to know what are we doing to get those results. And I remember the very first time that it happened to me, it was a while back. Let's leave it at that. And I wanted a blue dress.
Mm-hmm.
Erica wasn't even born yet.
Oh.
I wanted a blue dress.
I thought this was one of the many occasions in which we've been to stores and you wanted a blue dress.
This time I drove by a store and I saw this wonderful blue dress. It was an elegant blue dress. And I'm like, oh, nice. And I just said, in those times we were hearing a lot of preachings about prosperity, faith. And I said, I looked at the dress and I'm like, that could be my dress. Right, and I wanted it, and it was an expensive one. And I knew someone who wasn't going to buy it for me, I thought. And I prayed, and I said, Lord, I like that dress. I mean, it's not like I couldn't sleep because I was thinking about the dress. No, I just said it. I like that dress very much. I would like to have it. But then I forgot about the bendito dress.
Blessed dress.
And about 2 months later, I received a gift, and guess what it was?
Your
Not the dress.
Yeah,
Oh, was it
the
dress? Oh.
the beautiful long dress with that I could tie in my, and then I got pregnant, and then I wore it during my first months of pregnancy.
And she never wore it again.
Right. So it was, and that was just an example of, I don't remember telling anybody that I wanted that dress. I remember praying about it, looking at it at the store. It was really expensive, so I just prayed. Now, I was only starting to fall in love with blue. And that's how I guess when they saw it, they also thought, ooh, that looks like Elgin. So I did praise God for it. And after that, I was a little more sensitive. And when I received things, or when I found parking when no one could, I found something when no one could, I became more sensitive and thought, oh wow. So he doesn't spoil you, but he does treat you well. So God, as his sons and daughters, so he adopted us, and it's not to make us miserable. He adopted us with the purpose of us having a better life. Now we go through struggles because life is what it is, and we are human, and we make mistakes, and we make decisions. So then we have to go through consequences. But in the midst of all that, we are treated well by God. And I think, like, yeah, we are his sons and daughters. Yes, we are adopted, doesn't matter. That's technicology. We are his sons and daughters, and he treats us wonderful, and he protects us. And there's a song, Reckless Love, by the way.
Reckless Love by Corey Ashbury.
Oh, I was gonna say Bethel Music, but hey,
I mean, same difference.
We don't own the rights to the music, so don't shut us down.
So please don't shut us down. We're being honest. But
Please don't demonetize us,
amazing
YouTube.
song, and to be honest, that the words of that song, when I heard them carefully, I understood how real it is. He will do whatever it takes to keep us well. So before we move on to another point, I have to go back a little bit on what we were talking about last week. Remember that the siblings hated Joseph?
Yes.
Because of how he was, right? Not just because of how he was, but because they knew that Dad had some special favor for him, right?
Yes.
Now, one of the things that I was reading again Wednesday morning, meaning right after we had the radio program, I was reading again, and then I got something different. Remember how it is with the Word of God? So I got this, and then I'm going to tell you from what verse. So when you are overtaken by a negative work of the flesh, meaning jealousy, envy, anger, passion, whatever, and whatever else, it says you are not able to allow or give yourself the opportunity to think or wonder or ask God the reason for the behavior, for the situation, or for the event, for whatever is going on in your life. And where did I get this from? If we go to chapter 37, verses 10 and 11, Joseph says, hey guys, I had another dream, and this was my dream, and guess what? And you guys did this, and it says that the brothers hated him even more for having those dreams. But it says, but Jacob kept thinking and wondering about it, about what was the meaning of the dreams. Meaning Jacob wasn't hating. Now, Jacob did pull him aside. And I want to make a big correction. When we were talking, I did say, when he was talking about the dreams, Mom and Dad, and then I said, so it must have been Leah, pulled Joseph aside and said, son, that's not how you do it, you know? But no, it wasn't mom and dad, and that is exactly why I went back and I read, because I felt that something was not right. And it says his father, only his father pulled him aside and told him, son, no, what are you saying? Almost like, son, no, that's not how you do it, son. Son, please, be careful, they're gonna kill you. No, so that's not what he said, and I did say mom and dad, so please forgive me. I read and I corrected it, and I apologize. Facebook and YouTube cannot see me, yay! And YouTube. So,
let's change the camera.
So, that is one amazing observation, and scientifically or psychologically, it's explained that when you are really angry or when you are really, really sad and you allow your brain to dominate your emotions, you allow your emotions or whatever it is that you're feeling to dominate, your brain cannot process properly because your brain is very, very busy producing chemicals to counteract with whatever it is that you are feeling at the moment, so you don't explode of anger, so you don't disintegrate of sadness. So your brain is really, really working hard so you don't get yourself destroyed by whatever you are going through. That is why it's necessary to meditate, meaning pray. Talk to God. Allow your brain to stop worrying about those things, and you are going to think more clearly. And I saw it once, I remember a while back, but this time when I read it again, I'm like, oh yeah, that is so true, and I'm glad it's here. The brothers hated him, and that's all they could think of, how much they hated him. So they didn't even start to think like, I wonder what the dreams actually mean. And never got the chance to humble themselves and say, hey Joe, let's talk about it. What do you think that could mean? You little fellow that is making us feel so bad. No, they just hated on him, and they kept thinking on how to hurt him. So when they saw their chance, they did it, right?
They yeeted him into a hole.
All right, so that was parentheses from last week.
That was the biggest parentheses that we've ever had on the show. So that's a record.
Yes. And now let's talk about how we can relate.
Oh, heck.
I can relate to Joseph.
Go on, Elgin.
So I used to be what is called politically correct as a snitch when I was little.
Oh, my God.
Oh, my goodness, was I? And I didn't get paid for it, which is the most amazing thing. I never did. So when I was writing about this, I never did it with the intentions of seeing my sisters getting hurt. I did not want them to get punished, but I did not want the injustice to just go by without justice. So when they broke something, I never said, so-and-so did it. No, I went and I said, like, so something broke, and I would say, like...
And if you guess who it was,
I usually said, and I'm not saying who did it, in different words, because I was little. I don't remember what I used to say. But I did, so when they would call all three of us, and they would say, like, okay, who did it? I was always saying the truth. I didn't do it, but I got punished with them anyway, most of the time.
Wow.
But, so that was Joseph's, right? That was Joseph's quality, because that's what he used to do to his brothers. Like, go back and say, like, ooh, they were looking at other women. Ooh, Dad, guess what? They were actually, I don't know, doing whatever they used to do in those times in the field. So Joseph was a snitch. He was an informant. And that's what I was in my childhood. And I was very blunt about it. I didn't care. When they asked me, my sisters would be, making signs to me. And by sisters, I mean like Patty and Mel. And they would be like, don't. And so I would be looking at them and say like, yeah, we did it.
You probably wouldn't be my friend in Cameron.
Right. So what I did with that is a lot of people hated me. Even as a grown up, a lot of people hated me. Well, actually, they still do, but no. So,
wow.
So I said,
sorry,
well,
Facebook.
so I said, well, I did not mean to get my sisters in trouble. It was because I wanted to please in that case, my caregiver. My caregiver was my aunt. I was growing up with my aunt, and she was taking so wonderful care of me. So, no, that's not written here. I'm just saying that. Because she loved me, because I was her responsibility. And that's what Dad was doing with Joseph, who did not have a mother of his own. So Dad, he did not overprotect him, but he took so good care of him, and he was thankful, and he was grateful, and he wanted to be the good boy. So he snitched on his siblings without intent of getting them hurt or in trouble. But, and you know what, and that I wrote, because I, like Joseph, had no mother to look out for me. Isn't that cool? I wrote that down last week. Yeah, I was growing up. So I used to be bullied in school, and I used to be called an orphan. And
wow.
Oh, the kids used to sing songs, you know, like sad songs, like, oh, poor orphan, what's going to happen to her? She's going to be eating garbage very soon. That's what the song says.
Oh my God.
And so I would cry a lot. But, and like, that goes to say I was hated because of how I was. Now, my sister loved me in their own little sister ways because they had the right to hate me. And up to now, one of them still says, like, man, you were bad. But it wasn't.
You suck. Like,
yeah, because I didn't keep secrets that were harmful for, I wouldn't say for the family environment. So in that way, I do relate to Joseph. Now, how did that change in my life? When I met Christ,
I don't know how.
Because trust me, that was after I came to Christ, after I opened my heart to meet with Jesus, after I allowed Jesus to govern in my heart. Then I started seeing things differently, and I noticed that with the help of the Holy Spirit, I did not need to be a snitch. Then I learned that I could just pray for the stuff that I see happening, or I can try to help make it better, right? Like if I see you that you're doing something, actually at work it happened, love you guys, but at work it happened that I like to be on time. I like to, sign out to go for lunch, but come back fast to sign in on time. And a lot of people didn't want to go out with me for lunch because I rushed. And they said, no, I'm not going ever with you because you like to rush. One of the examples, now when I came to Christ, I learned that I make the difference, and if it pleases God to cause the other person to quit doing what they're doing, then they quit. If not, they just quit. No.
Wow.
Or things get better. Somehow I learned that I could make a difference just doing the right thing, no matter what. And one of the things learning how to present the situations. I'm not burning anybody anymore, but I come and I say, like, so look, you don't have a system where, to whatever. And then we can come up with an idea. We came up with ideas, and a system was created, and now more people were being honest. I'm not talking about my job anymore. I'm talking about in general. Joseph went through that. Joseph, I'm still talking about how I relate to Joseph, right?
Yes.
All right. So a verse in there says that
what are them verses?
That the father loved Joseph.
37, right?
Mm-hmm.
Scavenger hunt.
But it was because Joseph was burned. Joseph was born when he was already old. It says because Joseph was born in his old age, right? It says that that's why he loved him, not because he was an informant.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so in verse, what verse is that?
That's 3.
Verse 3. Not because he was a snitch, not because he kept him up to date. That was a bonus for Jacob, though. He just loved him because imagine how I think he loved Benjamin, but as a father, I think I would have a little bit of resentment because my wife died. See how cool? He could have had a little bit of resentment because my wife died while he was giving birth to you, son. But then remember,
My beloved Rachel.
what would Jacob remember that kept him from keeping resentment towards Benjamin?
Rachel.
Where are they?
Wait, what?
What
What is
would
the
Jacob
question?
remembered? What would have Jacob remembered
The promise he
that
made to
kept
Rachel.
him from having a resentment towards Benjamin for Rachel dying during birth?
Because Joseph was gone. No, exactly. I was testing you.
Because-
That's not the answer I was gonna give.
Wasn't it that Jacob was the one that said,
Whoa! He said,
yeah.
we gonna kill whoever stole these idols, mate. He didn't say he was gonna kill it. He said, bring death
he
to
said,
them.
whoever stole the idols you're talking about?
Yeet the life out of him. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Oh, wasn't it Rachel?
It was Rachel, yes.
Yeah, Rachel.
Rachel. They worked for you 14 years.
And
They came for you, honey. They came for you.
And it was 21 years because he worked 7, then he asked for a wife, then he worked 7 for the wife, and then he got the wrong wife, and then he worked 7 more, and then he actually got it. But
Okay.
because
The transition, though.
the Bible actually says, I forgot what verse, I think it was on 30, chapter 30th, where it says, because Jacob did not know that Rachel was the one who stole the idols, he said the following words, and whoever stole them, let them die.
Mm-hmm.
So
Let it die.
previous
let
to
it
that,
die, let it shrivel, let it die.
previous to that, Rachel had named Joseph, which meant,
Joseph.
no, may God allow me to have another
Man, that whole phrase in the
son.
name.
Yes, because she said, may God add another son to me, or more sons. I'm not sure.
It was, make
I don't
bring another
remember
son into
anymore.
it, something like that.
Right. So that's why she named. So God gave Rachel her request, but at the same time, gave Jacob his request.
The guy was like, yeesh! Woo!
Don't we put God in those situations with the things we ask for?
I don't like it when we do that.
Lord, I need a car. I want a car. Give me that car.
Kill the person that stole the car, like.
Well, we don't pray for that anymore, because if we pray for that, then we're sinning. But
Right.
we do say, I want this. Oh, I have a perfect example.
Oh, wow, okay.
I want this guy. Lord, I want him. Let him be your anointed. He doesn't even have Christ in his heart.
Right.
He's your anointed.
He's atheist, like.
Let him be your anointed one, Lord. I will be a vessel. I will be an instrument for him to come to you. And then God is like, but wait, I have yours. Yours is coming from wherever. Let's name a country. From
Lebanon.
France. From France.
I'm just name a country. Burkina Faso.
Yours is coming from France or from Guatemala or from wherever. No, but I want this other guy, Italiano guy. Because
It's
of
Burkina
why?
Faso guy.
And then God is here thinking, oh man, but I wanted to give you yours, but you really want that one, don't you? please don't do it, Elgin. And Elgin goes and says like, guess what? I think you're the guy God has for me. Let's go. Give your heart to Jesus. Think about it. I went through that actually.
And now she tells us it was a true story.
I actually did that. Like Pastora says. So, like seriously, we put God through those situations in which He says, what you're asking for is not what I want for you. And then, but we insist, and then God allows it because He's not treating us like robots, right? So, coming back to all of that, Jacob asked, Rachel asked, they both got what they wanted. I guess Jacob did not mean to ask for it. Had he known that it was Rachel.
Yeah, true.
But anyways, that was that. I mentioned that because I noticed that my aunt did not love me more because of the gossip, the snitching, because of the information I kept bringing to her. She didn't love me more. She loved us three the same. But of course, there was some sort of resentment on the rest. But then again, the rest had resentment against me. And that was all just to say there was a reason why Jacob loved him more. And we tend to think that it was favoritism because he kept him informed. So no, it wasn't favoritism. It was just that special kind of love. He was born when Joseph was already very old. So when Jacob. So I think that's reason for to love him more. Well, just a little more, or in a more special way. You get me, right?
Right.
Okay. So one of the things I was obedient, no matter what I needed to obey from my aunt. I obeyed it. If she said eat dirt, I ate dirt. Whatever she said that I had to do, I did.
Girl.
I did not hide or pretended that, and up to now I'm like that. I mean, like, when I see that it's worse, I learned dirt, you don't eat dirt. Okay?
Yeah, please don't eat dirt. You know what? Please don't try this at home.
So I did. I was very, I was very careful. I mean, I was very obedient. I
was very careful. I was like, wait a minute.
So
one of these things doesn't belong here.
I was very obedient, and I was, I want to say, like, seriously, I was a righteous child.
Well, too righteous.
In an ignorant, innocent, naive way. Now I learned that if you behave like that, you are hurting people's hearts and you are pushing people away from your life, right? Mm-hmm. So you have to find that balance of not compromising the truth, not compromising righteousness, not compromising obedience, while
try to do it without sucking, basically.
Right. Like be nice. We have to be nice while we do the right thing. And that's my relation to Joseph's life.
Right.
And I have another observation, but go on.
Share with us.
No, because this other observation has nothing to do with
Joseph.
That. Go ahead.
Ears are sweating.
Yeah, no, but it's the glasses.
Well, fellow kids.
I've never seen Elgin without his glasses. It's the first time.
You have seen Elgin without glasses.
I haven't.
You've never noticed them because she's seen like 6 months with glasses.
She just found them in her car.
Right. She just like went in the drawer and found them.
Oh, I was gonna say a joke about that. You said I've never seen Elgin without glasses. And you still are not seeing me without glasses. You have your glasses on.
Ah, nice one. I like those.
We'll see you guys next week. I'm next on terrible jokes with Rosika.
Okay, who's next?
You are.
Me.
Same.
You know, I was looking for all the verses that I had, and
And
I just want to say
in her vast list of verses.
Joseph is one of the persons that I admire the most when it comes to forgiveness. Because I think that he went not only through a lot, but I also think that I love this verse. Hold on. I'm trying to look for it. Come on. Oh, right here.
We're just trying to fill the time.
So you know how Joseph was sold by his brothers and stuff, and then he went through his moments of struggle when he was in Egypt. Mm-hmm. But of course, as we all know, everything happens for a reason, and even if we put ourselves in those situations at times, at the end everything turns out well.
Yeah.
So,
I don't know how to pronounce a guy's name. Pharaoh.
Yes.
Okay, Pharaoh said to Joseph, I hereby, this is on chapter 41.
Oh my God.
I hereby put you in charge of the whole land of Egypt, right?
What verse?
Verse 41, chapter 41.
Okay.
Verse 42. Then Pharaoh took his signet ring from his finger and put it on Joseph's finger. He dressed him in robes of fine linen and put a gold chain around his neck, right?
So it's kind of like Joseph being exalted, and he's being honored because he found grace in front of not only God's eyes, but I think in front of
Pharaoh's as well. So that's one, right? And then this is the part. Okay, so then
it said that the land was going to go through 7 years of good and then 7 years where everyone was going to starve. And so it is during the time period of the 7 years, 2 years into it, that the brothers of Joseph go in search for food. So they go to Egypt. And just like Joseph for the dream that they hated him for, they are going towards that dream. And they're walking towards that dream, and they appear in front of Joseph, and Joseph already knows who they are. They don't know who he is. And I think it's very important, and it's in chapter 42 that we see this. And so I seen this movie about Joseph, and I had those images in my head. And I think this is when you know that, I think that even if Joseph was already in charge of Egypt, I think he still had that little tiny spine inside his heart that I feel like he couldn't forgive certain things that his brothers had done to him, because of course they sold him. It's like imagine if Christina sold you for
she probably sold me for a corn chip.
$100.
She probably sold me for a corn chip. Like,
or just imagine.
She wouldn't. I hope you wouldn't.
Imagine it's your own brother, people who swear by to take care of you, and then it's like, I don't know, and then they just sell you to whoever comes first, and to give them money. So then so now you see Joseph's brothers in front of him, and Joseph is like, okay, I know who you are, and this is what impacted my heart.
And he said, so in verse 24 he says, he turned away from them and began to weep, but then he came back and spoke to them again. He had Simeon taken from them and bound. Simeon.
That's fine. It's just a name. One of the brothers.
Taken from them and bound
before their eyes. So, okay, so then he said he was trying to control himself because he was like about to cry. I can't imagine being in Joseph's shoes, and I feel like I wouldn't be able to control my tears. But he's trying to be strong, because he had prepared himself in some way. So he's trying to be strong so he won't seem weak. Okay, that's one.
And then we have another reaction from him. And then I think, okay,
and then of course everything happens. And this is the most important one.
So on verse 23 from chapter 43, it's all right, he said, don't be afraid. Your God, the God of your father, has given you treasure in your sacks. I receive your silver. Then he brought Simeon out to them. The steward took the men into Joseph's house, gave them water to wash their feet, and provided fodder for their donkeys.
So he's starting to walk into this path of forgiveness. And instead of him treating them bad, he's treating them well. He's providing everything for them. And We're talking about a brother who got sold by his brothers, and instead of him being evil to them, like in nowadays, I feel like, and this is where I come and relate to him, I feel that oftentimes there's lots of people that when someone does something bad to you, they like to take vengeance upon that person. And that's the first reaction that a lot of people have. They want to take vengeance because they hurt you or because whatever they did. But if there's one thing that I have learned over the course of the years, is that forgiveness is one of the most strongest things when it comes to freedom. It sets you free, and it's even hard to explain what forgiveness is. I remember I used to ask my mom, how does it feel when you have forgiven someone? How do you know if you actually have forgiven? Is it something that you wake up in the morning and God tells you, okay, my daughter, you have forgiven? Or is it something that you feel? Does it make a click inside your mind? But then I understood something. And I feel like it's not the same for everyone. Forgiveness comes in different ways. And it doesn't come... I don't know how to say it. Like, it may come differently for Elgin as it come differently for me. And all I can say is that sometimes people can come into your life and they can hurt you. And maybe the first thought that we have towards those people are, I'm going to hurt them back the same way that they did. So they will feel the same things I felt. But then I was talking to someone recently this week. And we were talking about the sense of forgiveness. And I was like, what do people gain pleasure from taking vengeance upon other people? You get pleasure, yeah, but it's temporary. It's not the same feeling as having forgiveness in your heart, because it sets you free. And that freedom no one can give you. And lots of people have heartaches, and they're in very deep holes because they can't forgive. And even if they say they have forgiven, they still remain stuck in their past. And they're constantly remembering everything that person did to you. They are constantly remembering the words, the actions. Then that means you haven't forgiven. Right. And I understood as I'm growing up that forgiveness doesn't click in your brain. You don't wake up one day and you say, okay, I have forgiven. No. And I once heard that process, Someone once preached that process don't exist. Process do exist. They very much do exist. Right. And every single day you are forgiving. Every single day you are forgiving. And every single day you remember less and less and less until you're able to talk about it without tears in your eyes. Until you're able to express it until you're able to look at that person and say, I will not treat you the same way you treated me. Until you're able to say to that person, you know what? I love you. I love you for who you are. And I probably don't love you, because if we look at it like this, you need to ask God, well, Father, let me look at that person the same way that you look at them, so that my heart receives peace, right. So that I won't, because in that area we also need to take care of ourselves as well. Once you have forgiven, you need to understand that you need to take care of yourself too. That sometimes it's good to say, I love you, but also ask God to guide you into that love. And to see the people that hurt you with eyes of love, but the way that God sees them, so that you won't see them with your own with your flesh, with your eyes.
Right, with your own eyes.
Yeah, with your own eyes.
Which are not Jesus' eyes, but.
So when you have decided to forgive, it's a decision that you make.
Yeah.
And when you have decided, that's when you say, wait a second. It still hurts. When I see him, when I see her, it still hurts. Or it still bothers me.
Yeah.
And then you say those words, Lord, help me see them. Or actually, see them through my eyes, Lord. Yeah. Like you do that. I want to see you. I want to see them the way you see them. I don't want to see them the way I feel or the way I see them. So, and that's when we already made the decision. Another thing that Joseph could have done was say, I told you so. You need food.
And
you know,
and
he could have said that.
Yeah, he could. And I think that was one of the biggest battles that Joseph had. You know, he had two choices, and he chose the most humble one.
And isn't it amazing that in one of the verses he actually says, the Lord has been merciful to me. He has been good to me, because he made me forget the pain that my brothers caused me by doing the harm that they did to me.
Yeah, he named his son Messiah or something like that, which is the significance of because the Lord has blessed me and he had made me forgive everything that my brothers did to me. And
not only that, but then again we see he was deeply moved by at the sight of his brothers. Joseph hurried out and looked for a place to weep.
Again, he's going to start crying again. It reminded me because I remember that there was this one person in my life who hurt me very, very much. And to a point, when I was a child, to a point where every time I seen that person, all I wanted to do was cry, just go into a room and cry, because I couldn't hold everything my heart was feeling. But at the same time, I feel like as I grew older, the Lord has worked in a way where I'm able to look at that person and say, the Lord loves you the same way that he loves me. And I'm able to look at the person and say, you know, we all go through things in life that either make us evil people or they create evil in our hearts, and sometimes we react upon that evil. We don't realize how much of that evil can hurt someone else. And when I understood that, I was like, wow, I never actually seen things like that. And it reminded me of Joseph. But okay, now going back into the movie. In the movie, he goes into his room and he starts crying and crying. But it's like that cry where you're just like upset. But then again, so he serves them food and he washes his face and then that's it. And then he goes back. And then again you have another encounter with his brothers after they bring Benjamin. And then when he's getting prepared to get known to his brothers, he says that he cried.
This is a good verse. And then he says on Genesis 45, verse 1, then Joseph could no longer control himself before all his attendants, and he cried out, have everyone leave my presence. So then there was no one with Joseph, but he made himself known to his brothers. And he wept so loudly that the Egyptians heard him, and Pharaoh's household heard about it. So he imagine the cry of that man. Just imagine everything he was holding in. Imagine the forgiveness that in the movie. Okay, and I have the images of the movie. In the movie, you see and he's such a great actor because I think he transmitted those emotions into the persons who were watching the movie. And you see this actor, he's crying, but to the point where you're not just crying, you're screaming. And I imagine the same thing in that scene with Joseph. I imagine when he says that the whole Egyptians heard him. You just imagine how loud that cry was. And I rejoice in that cry. Because that's the cry of, I am being free from everything you did to me. I am being free from the lack of forgiveness. I was going to speak in Spanish.
Just about to start.
And he's
like my Arabic.
I am being free from the lack of forgiveness, from the anger that probably his heart has. I am being free. Just imagine, have you ever cried that loud to the point where your veins literally popped out of you, where your heart races, where you're having this cry of deliverance?
And then he also mentions that he goes into the verse, and then I don't know, after a verse later he says, but God sent me ahead of you to preserve for you a remnant on earth and to save your lives by a great deliverance.
And you see a man that's being liberated of years and years and years of suffering. And I imagine that cry as one of the best cries on the Bible, to be honest. And it reminded me of the time when I remember, and I'm still learning about forgiveness. It's not something that you learn and you put it aside. Every single day I have to forgive, and every single day I have to ask for forgiveness. And I remember someone told me, why do you always pray, Lord, forgive me? Because, honey, we sin every single day. There is not a day that you do not sin. There is not a day, maybe you don't sin. And this is the thing about sinning. I was telling this person about when it comes to forgiveness. It doesn't matter if the sin is big or if it's small. Sin is sin. maybe you said a bad word. Maybe you were singing a song that you weren't supposed to sing. Maybe you were tapping to the beat of a song at the restaurant. Maybe things like that is still sin. And you don't have to commit the huge sin of robbing someone at the store or killing someone. And that's why you ask for forgiveness. And the Lord provides you with that forgiveness. And if the Lord provides you with forgiveness, I understood, then I have to provide other people with forgiveness. And I remember that when I was finally able, and I remember asking this to my mom. Oh wait, I already said that. About how do I know when I have forgiven? and I remember that there was this one morning that I woke up and I was like, Lord, I am tired. I am tired of feeling the way I'm feeling. I'm tired of feeling, and it's a feeling in your heart that doesn't even let you sleep because it hurts you so bad. It hurts you physically. It distracts you. It's a baggage that you're carrying. You feel like you feel like you're worshiping God, but it's not the worship that you want to give because your heart is not clean. And I remember I was like, Lord, I am tired of carrying this baggage. I am tired of not being able to sleep at night. And I am tired. And I was like, and I need to be set free. I need to forgive. I want to forgive. And it was like this, I desire forgiveness. And I accept forgiveness into my heart. And I remember that I was at the park. And I was praying in my car. And I was like, Lord, I don't want to be this way anymore. I don't want to be stuck. I don't want to have a heart that's full of bitter. And I remember that I got down and just started screaming. And I started screaming. And I feel like that was the best scream of my life. And after that, I was like, wow, Lord. And after I finished, I don't remember how long it took me. But I had to let it out. And I had to let it out. And it was really funny because I came that weekend to church, and I went to the front for pastor to pray for me. And then Pastor Benjamin was praying, and he was like, the Lord says that you are like a Joseph, and that he will put you in places that you probably don't see yourself at the moment. And that's exactly what God did to Joseph. He put them as the governor of Egypt, in charge of a big nation. And that's exactly what God does to you. When you accept forgiveness, He puts you in the best places. He makes the best of you. He creates such a beautiful person in you. And not only that, He gives you treasure in your hands. And you accept it. And that's why I think that's the only thing I could say. Practice forgiveness every single day. Because God does that. God does the same to you. And I feel like that's the most I can relate to Joseph at the moment.
That's awesome. And and I forgot to mention where exactly I because you went from beginning to end, and I forgot to mention where exactly it is that I observed Joseph's behavior change, right? Because I did say that I was this, and I used to say the truth, period. Whoever was there, and I was also very, very smart in school, and I used to boast about that as well. So does that mean, do you see Joseph in there? But then Joseph learned after everything he had been going through, after he was trying to be seduced by the wife of
Pharaoh's
Potiphar's wife. After all that happened, one day he's in prison, and Gabriel mentioned this at the beginning of the program. Then the baker and the cup holder of Pharaoh have a dream. And when they said, well, we are upset because we had a dream, each of us, and we are bothered because we don't understand what on earth the dreams mean. How was Joseph's answer already, past all the suffering and a lot that he had already gone through? Was Joseph's answer, me, I'm the dream boy, remember? Because I used to have dreams when I was little. He no longer was that Joseph.
No.
And that's what I meant. Elgin is no longer that little Elgin that used to say they used to be the way I was, naive. No, Joseph said, wait, why are you so upset? Aren't dreams from God? Isn't God the one who can interpret dreams? Well, come, tell me your dream. He gave God the glory. He did say, wait. Oh, wisely he said, it's God. It's not me. And he does say, I will find the verses and one day I will mention them. But he did say, I can't interpret dreams, but God can.
Right.
And with that, because Gabriel and Erica did not say much,
We
and
get
it's
a
time
free
to
pass.
go. No, next Thursday. No. No, I know next Thursday. No. So really, if you read the story of Joseph, like Esme was quoting, from chapter 30, which is when he was born, and spoken about him a little bit, and then all the way to past 40 and some. Read, and you will see that his life was so rich, and we can relate. Not just to Joseph. We can relate to Moses. We can relate to any human being. And guess who can relate to us? Jesus can relate to us. Because when he came on earth, he left his throne. He left his divine nature to become man, to become human, to become of flesh. And men are made of spirit, body, and soul.
Yes.
So Jesus became spirit, body, and soul. He was God incarnated. So he can relate to us. Jesus was tempted but never sinned, just like us.
True.
No, we sin. But just like we get tempted, Jesus was tempted. The difference between Jesus and us is that Jesus said, no. And he was actually the one that was going to pay the price for us. For us to be able to say, Jesus, help me. I don't want to give into this temptation. We can say that. He couldn't say, God, Father, help me. He couldn't say, children that are going to believe in me, help me. No, he was the lamb. He was the one that paid the price for us. So I want to just let you know that any character in the Bible that you find, read the Word of God. We know the truth, and that's how we have become free. Because Jesus said, you will know the truth, and the truth will set you free. He is the truth. He is the way. He is the life. So when we get to know him, we become free, and free indeed. Free for real. So we named this program Truth Seekers, but it's because we already know it, but we keep reading the Word of God. And that's why you guys, the kids here were tired of Romans.
Yeah. The kids!
But we kept insisting, we as me, I kept insisting that we have to read Romans. Because Romans is the biggest self-help book that you will find. The second one is James. I recommend it. Timothy, I recommend Titus. Yes.
All right, anything between Genesis and Revelation.
Yes. So, in reality, and actually Proverbs gives you wisdom for real.
Oh, my Lord.
So, Psalm 119, about how much you can love the Word of God.
Oh, my Lord.
So, my words of encouragement for today are, I really hope you continue having a wonderful week. And if your week started kind of weak, I pray to God that it gets strong, that you be blessed,
I want it to be over,
and that you see God's hand working in your favor. And that goes for YouTube and Facebook.
Yes.
Just remember,
you book it FaceTube.
Just remember that really it's not a joke. Before God created the world, he loved you already, and that's why he came with a plan in case Adam and Eve made a mistake.
Which they did.
He already had a plan on how he was going to redeem us. He loves you very much. And he doesn't think you're very special. He thinks you are
super special.
The apple of his eye.
Oh, I like
We love you. See you next week.
Go ahead.
Esme.
I hope you have a wonderful day, and I hope you have a wonderful week. And remember, the Lord loves you.
Gabe.
Have a good week and be blessed.
Always wear your seatbelt.
Bye-bye. See you next week. You get to stop the video, Esme.
Right. That's what I'm telling you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Girl, press done. Press the blue button.